All right, top of the morning, everybody. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. I'm Emerson Lotzi. I'm hosting this show called The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. For the next hour or so, probably closer to 55 minutes, we're going to be talking odds, bets, best DFS plays around the NBA, the NHL. We're going to hit up the links as well because Tony Finau just can't stop winning right now. But y'all know the drill. It's Monday. It's time for some NFL overreaction with two of my favorites, DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Geoff Ulrich. Another game of the year candidate has entered the picture here, gentlemen. The Vikings needed almost, a full 70 minutes to get past the Bills in overtime. An absolute thriller. What are we calling this? The Minnesota Miracle? The Buffalo Bumble? I have no clue, but the two number one wideouts in this game were absolutely unbelievable. On another planet. Justin Jefferson, 10 catches, 193 yards and a touchdown, plus a spectacular one-handed grab on 4th and 18 with the game on the line. Stephon Diggs, 12 grabs, 128 yards, made a leaping one-handed catch of his own. Geoff, it felt like the Vikings won because of Buffalo errors, not because of Kirk Cousins and his play. Where is Minnesota rank? Where do they rank? Where does this team rank among your Super Bowl favorites in the NFC?
Oh, I mean, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, absolutely. I mean, this is a team we always like to talk down and look at them. I mean, they're going on the road. They're getting 4th and 18 conversions from Justin Jefferson. This team is headed directly to Arizona. Look, in all seriousness, like I tweeted this yesterday, the NFC is going to be crazy in terms of the playoffs. The Eagles are the clear number one seed. The Vikings absolutely did not get a good game from Kirk Cousins. He had a under 70 quarterback rating. He had 2 interceptions versus 190. He had a 60% completion rate. It was a tough matchup, but after the Eagles, what is left in the NFC? We just saw the Cowboys' faults. It's Mike McCarthy. The Vikings still have a pretty opportunistic defense. They have an absolute game changer on Justin Jefferson, who can obviously flip the script whenever he so chooses. And then what do you have? I mean, okay, the 49ers look like they're starting to get it together, but they're kind of limited. I mean, they're going to be able to run the ball down the throat of the Vikings. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that against Minnesota. So Minnesota's very live. I would actually probably put them second at this point. It hurts me to say, but I trust them more than the Cowboys. So NFC is wide open, and the Vikings are definitely going to be in the mix.
Are they in the mix, Pierce, for you? Are they near the top of your list for NFC contenders?
Well, they're definitely in the mix. They've only lost one game. I mean, that's pretty good. Last I checked.
Yeah,
are they going to beat
true.
the Eagles?
I don't know, but it's the eye test.
It's a pretty close matchup right now.
It's the eye test, dude. You can watch them. You can see it's like most of the time they're winning maybe end of the game every time. It's not like they're blowing dudes out.
That's what the Vikings do, though.
Yeah,
True.
Well, I think blowing teams out can be a bit overrated at times, especially if you're playing tough competition. Sure, you would like for them to look flawless every single week, but that's just unreasonable. I mean, what we have seen from Kirk Cousins is pretty special so far. We're expecting him to have those letdown games, and he's not really having them. Now, when primetime rolls around, that might change. And my concern would be come January, February, you have to be perfect. You can't have a Kirk Cousins letdown game or you get knocked out of the playoffs. So, yeah, they're doing everything right. They'll walk through the regular season. They'll probably have home field advantage, maybe possibly. But if Cousins just has one disappointing game, he drags the rest of the team down with him. Jefferson's got to get the ball passed to him. Thielen's got to get the ball in his hands. A lot can go wrong. Now, you got to give credit to the new head coach. For the first time in Minnesota in a while, they've got an offensive-minded head coach, new OC, and definitely can see that in the offensive side of the ball. I worry about the defense, though. I think Cousins ultimately is okay, but the defense gave up a lot of points last week, and they've given up a lot of points on a lot of weeks. And to your point, they're not blowing out a lot of teams because defense isn't quite putting everyone away, and it may not even come down to Cousins. It might just be the Achilles heels of the defense now that Zimmer's gone that lets them down in January or February.
Yeah, and speaking of quarterbacks who need to play better here, guys, Josh Allen is the most physically gifted quarterback in the NFL. I think he's capable of doing things not even Patrick Mahomes can do. The problem is, and we saw this yesterday here, Geoff, his carelessness, poor decision-making with the football. He's now thrown 4 red zone interceptions in his last 2 games, which stands out even more with 1-score losses to the Jets and then the Vikings. So they're second in the AFC East. How much trouble is Buffalo in here if Allen doesn't start making smarter decisions?
They're not really in trouble. I mean, this is still. I mean, if they're not the best team in the NFL, they're right up there. Yeah, they've made a few mental errors, and this kind of comes back to what Pierce has been talking about. Though, would you rather you make those mental errors during the middle of the regular season or during the postseason? I mean, we saw the Chiefs do this exact same thing last year. They just went through a lull. They went through a spot where maybe they got too high on themselves. Maybe they just like wanted to make things tougher for themselves, but they eventually got it together and they almost made the Super Bowl. I really expect that Buffalo will do the same thing. The one misnomer here, the one kind of hanging chad, is definitely the Josh Allen elbow injury. If this turns into something more seriousness, then everything I said is off the table. But otherwise, I mean, I don't know how you can look at that game against Minnesota where you had Josh Allen not 100%, off not a full week of practice, and they basically did everything but win the game against Minnesota. They had a catch that basically people are saying was like the greatest catch ever by Justin Jefferson. Then you had what I can only describe as like just a fluke play on the 1 yard line when Buffalo is just trying to seal the game. I don't know why they just don't run it. And if you take the safety, anyways, that's for another time. The point is Buffalo outplayed Minnesota. They should have won the game. Really, realistically, they've probably had another game like that in their past where they should have won as well. But this is still a team with they get full strength on defense, going to be incredibly hard to go up against, very opportunistic. And then, we haven't even talked, obviously, like their offense, they still should be winning all these games, and their offense is obviously not at 100%. They'll get it figured out just like the Chiefs figured it out last year, but we got to watch the elbow situation. If that turns into something, then, like I said, all bets are off.
I mean, it did seem to bug them a whole lot yesterday, and I didn't even realize Bills are third, actually, in the AFC East because I forgot about the head-to-head loss there with the Jets. But Pierce, he leads the league, Josh Allen does, with 10 interceptions, and he has 13 giveaways. He's not his typical MVP self right now. Like, it's a bad stretch of football. Would you say that he's even regressed here a little bit?
No, I wouldn't say he's regressed, and I wouldn't say that he's not an MVP. Adversity is good. It toughens teams up. Sure, home field advantage might be gone. They may not be able to recover that, and that's going to hurt them in the playoffs. But ultimately, going through these struggles right now is going to mean a lot more when the games mean a lot more. You can lose now, but you can't lose in January. You can't lose in February. And there are mistakes here that he needs to learn from. Josh Allen is an MVP, he is a Superman type quarterback, but he has to learn that maybe I don't need to try to be Superman all the time. Maybe I shouldn't try to make every play. These red zone turnovers are absolutely killing them in the standings, but hopefully it's going to start to sink in for Allen. Like, all right, I need to learn how to dial it back so I don't make these game breaking or back breaking plays that kill my team. And you compare this to the Vikings, where you've got Kirk Cousins celebrating and dancing around without his shirt on. He's not getting tough. He's not getting strong. He's not learning anything. They're getting away with a lot of mistakes. And come January and February, when you need to have those hard lessons learned, it's not going to be the Vikings. It's going to be the Bills who grinded through, learned from the mistakes, and got it ready for the postseason.
Yeah. So, like, would your biggest takeaway then, Geoff, from this game be that, like, the Vikings can win when Kirk Cousins is not playing great?
My biggest takeaway from this game is that the Vikings are running extremely hot right now.
Yeah.
And it reminds me a little bit of the Rams last year. They are getting better defense.
Good comparison.
No, I basically, Pierce and I are on the exact same page here. I think this may actually benefit Buffalo in the long run. You look, if you just float through the regular season, how many 14-2 teams have we seen go into the first playoff game and just go, oh, well, we're one and done because we have faced no adversity. The team we're facing against was, sharpening iron all postseason, just trying to get into the playoffs, and then that top seed is done. I think this probably benefits Buffalo in the long run. It's hard to see right now because the elbow thing with Allen and the way they lost that game, but Allen will dial it back. He's a player who figured it out on his own. He went from a 50% completion rate to one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. This guy will figure it out. Buffalo will be fine if they can avoid the injuries. And Minnesota is absolutely just running with the Angels right now, but that can last too. So a couple of interesting teams. We'll see how it all pans out. I definitely think Buffalo will get it turned around though.
Pierce, thoughts and prayers to you, because I know your Seahawks flew across the pond, ended up losing to the Bucks, who are back to 500 after their win in Germany here. That's now 2 straight wins for Tampa Bay. They have a newfound commitment to the run game thanks to the emergence of Rachaad White. But Tom Brady, he still cannot catch a football. Leonard Fournette now tied with Tom Brady.
Nick Foles.
Yeah, the team lead in interceptions there, man. Bucks are back to being NFC contenders. Is that an overreaction, Pierce?
Yeah, that's an overreaction. They should be glad just to win their division, which is not really much of an achievement given that division, the NFC South, is pretty miserable. But hey, take it. Tampa is playing better. Brady's playing a little bit better. The receivers are more healthy. It looks like Julio Jones is healthy. Be happy with what you've got so far. I just don't see this team making much of a run in the playoffs unless they can get that offensive line playing better. If they can get some real production out of the running backs, continued production out of the running backs, I just don't see that happening. I don't see the running backs working. I don't see the offensive line working very well. And I also have a hard time believing that these receivers can stay healthy for an entire season. We haven't seen that from Godwin. We haven't seen that from Julio Jones. And even Mike Evans hasn't been 100% healthy. Now, if Evans, Godwin, and Julio are all just on fire in the postseason, then maybe something can happen. The rush defense improved last week. It's getting back to where it once was. I don't think it will be completely to where it once was. The pass defense is fine. Everything's good there. But this is we want this to be the old Tampa team. It simply isn't. Brady's older. The line's not as good. This is not the team from 2 years ago or the team last year where they're throwing left and right. It's an okay version, but it's not the old Tampa team.
All right, Geoff. Are the Bucs better than like the Eagles, Vikings, and Cowboys right now? Probably not. That's to be determined. But any team with Tom Brady at quarterback cannot be ruled out. Plus 800 to win the NFC.
Yeah, I'll pass too. I mean, they probably are better than the Vikings, but I mean, like the Vikings again, they just have.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they just have like a guardian angel on their side this year. So, but I wouldn't take them against the Cowboys. I mean, everything with Tampa is just a little bit worse this year, and like the wide receivers are older. They could definitely pop up with like a game and maybe catch a team off guard. But asking them to go like 3 straight in the playoffs, I think that's asking way too much. Again, like even just in that Seattle game, they caught them off guard. I think they attacked versus the run, which is a smart thing to do against Seattle. I think that's probably the weakest part of their defense. But they also let the Seahawks back in that game. I mean, that got pretty close at the end. And really, is Rashard White like really the answer here? Are they really just going to run White down? Like he's not really built for that. So I think
he's been better than Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, well, I mean, Leonard Fournette, okay. I mean, again, and I just think that I think everyone on Tampa is just a little bit older. This team's been through the gauntlet a couple years in a row. I mean, I just don't see them doing it for 3 years, three games straight, which they're going to have to do now. I think they're going to be happy with the division win this year, and that's probably it.
You guys remember when the Dolphins were so down on Tua that Stephen Ross tampered with Tom Brady and got a first-round draft pick taken away from the team for it? Well, Tua did. Tua completed 78% of his passes, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks in Sunday's win over the Browns. How soon, Pierce, should we start taking the Dolphins seriously?
Right now.
Right now.
Yesterday, last week, before, they're pretty good. They got tons of weapons. So Tua didn't have an offensive line before, didn't really have a great coaching staff behind him, didn't have the weapons. Well, now he's got an improved line. He's got weapons everywhere, receivers everywhere. I mean, Cedric Cedric, whatever his name is. I can't even remember his name. He's not even on the field. Gesicki looks good. You've got a million running backs on that team. The offense is he's firing on all cylinders. Tua, and if you just watch the specific passes that he is making, over the shoulder, into the end zone, just pinpoint accuracy, he looks great. Your only concern would be the Dolphins' defense, but it really can't get any worse. And we've seen this with the Dolphins' defense before the last couple of seasons. They start out with a lot of injuries. It takes some time to gel, but in the back half of the season, they start to get there. And I think you're going to see that from the secondary. Obviously, it can't get any worse. But once they get healthy, start playing together more, they've got talented DBs. They just got to get on the field and help out the younger DBs. And they could be a dangerous team in the playoffs if they can get home field advantage. If these guys got to play on the road in cold weather, no way.
Geoff, no one's going to mistake the Browns defense for being like an elite unit here, but that's not really what stood out on Sunday. I mean, the team in the 7 games Tua has started and finished, the Dolphins are 7-0. They're plus 250 to win the division. Kind of feels like that plus money is not going to be around much longer.
Let's not forget that the Dolphins also tried to trade for Deshaun Watson. And like
that was with Flores as head coach though too.
Right. Yeah. But I agree. I think that the plus money on the Dolphins is well worth taking. I think that, and again, I mean, Pierce and I are agreeing about everything this morning, which is scary. But the Dolphins, where they're going to get into trouble in the playoffs is with their defense. It's not with the offense. They have built perfectly around a quarterback. I mean, what is Tua's strength? It's his quick release. It's his accuracy on those short to mid passes. They've brought in quick receivers who can get open in a flash. They've designed an offense for quick passing, and they've beefed up the O-line. I mean, they've allowed the 10th fewest sacks in the league going into last week. It's perfect for a guy like Tua. And obviously, like, they still need to protect him. And when things get colder and those maybe receivers like can't get open quite as quick, it could turn a little bit against them. But yeah, in terms of like regular season here to finish off too, I mean, you're just looking at their schedule. Obviously, they still got to take on the Bills. The Chargers aren't really looking like anything. They have some division games here coming up, but I still think like the Dolphins, just with their coaching staff, with the way their offense is running, they're going to be a tough out here in the regular season. Probably not as bullish as them in the playoffs. It's always tough for first-time head coaches the first time you head into a playoff game, but really like the way that, I mean, nothing bad to say, just that if they can take a step up on defense, and I mean, this team is going to be a tough out. I mean, you're not going to be able to outshoot them. They're going to be able to hang with you, and you're going to have to run the ball down their throat, kind of, and just hope that you can keep Tua off the field at this point. I
mean, that's what the Giants have been doing, just running the football down like their opponents' throats. And at this rate, like the wins for New York, they don't really need to be pretty. The Giants have earned their 7-2 start. They can go 3-5 the rest of the way here and be a 10-win team this regular season. Are the Giants a contender or pretender, Pierce?
They're not a contender. They're not a pretender either. They're a much improved team under Dable and the new coaching staff. But you just don't expect this team to really have the firepower to compete in the postseason. They're going to win week to week. They got enough to get over teams. They're going to beat teams that are not as good as them. I don't see the Giants beating teams that are much better. Mainly the Eagles. This is the Eagles division. It's the Eagles conference. Maybe the Super Bowl belongs to the Eagles as well. But it's a good story for New York. Hooray. That's fun. That's awesome. The real thing, if I'm a New York fan and I'm worried about, is they're going to go on this run. They're going to make the playoffs, and then that's that. They get knocked out pretty early. They don't get a high draft pick. But the big fear is defensive coordinator Wink Martindale, who they brought in from Baltimore last season. I would bet anything that at the end of the season, he's going to be on the top of head coach wish lists. And when Martindale leaves, that's going to definitely hurt this Giants defense.
All right, Geoff. Pierce says they're not a contender. Pierce says they're not a pretender. What are they in your eyes?
Yeah, I might even just go a step further. I think they are a bit of a pretender. It's the team with they're not bad. I mean, like, again, it's nothing against Brian Dable. I mean, he's taken what has been given to him and he's built a winning team. That's smart football. You build it around Saquon Barkley, and until the wheels fall off, you run him into the ground to protect your quarterback. And you build a good defense around that. So they're playing to the strengths. They have a good defense this year. They're controlling the pace of games, but I just go back to that Seahawks game and look what Seattle did to them. They ran the ball down their throats. They really stuffed the line to really just shut down Saquon, and the Giants had no answer. And that's going to happen when they face better teams. The Giants have one more gift here with the Lions, and then it's the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Vikings. Okay, the Colts are in there, but then the Eagles again. I mean, these division games, I really think that the Giants could have a pretty poor end to the season here. They'll probably make the playoffs because they've racked up so many wins, which again just speaks to the smart coaching and the way this team has been prepared. But this is just, the Giants don't really do anything well. They win close games and they're really good at it. But when you start to go up against more elite competition, you're going to have to be in some comeback situations. You're going to need to, make some plays, just like Justin Jefferson did last week, to grab some wins out of nowhere. I just don't think that the Giants have that capability. And once they start going up against better competition, I think that the wins are going to be a lot tougher to come by.
All right, guys. Last one here for overreaction. A few other storylines to wrap up what ended up being a very exciting Week 10. So Justin Fields was a huge winner and another Bears loss. Jeff Saturday showing up on a Sunday. The countdown to Josh McDaniels being fired has begun. A Dallas fourth quarter collapse. Jeff, this is your chance to vent, to talk about something else that we have not hit on up to this point. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Green Bay and the emergence of Christian Watson, man. I mean, I really think that, again, Green Bay, people forget. I mean, this was basically like if not the favorite to win the NFC, but the co-favorite to start the year. And we talk about teams getting going here. We've been talking about Tampa Bay and, the Bills. But, what about Green Bay? I mean, this is still a team in a division with the Vikings as the leader here. They ran the ball the most they have all year. It was really effective. They went out and beat a team that, they were 5-point underdogs against at one point. And they discovered Christian Watson, who maybe isn't as bad a draft pick as everybody thought. This dude has ton of athleticism. I think Aaron Rodgers is about to go on a run here. I think the Packers are about to go on a run. And I think this team's going to make the playoffs and potentially be a real dark horse. So that's going to be my call here. I really like – I've been waiting for this for Green Bay for the last 4 weeks. We finally saw it, and I think this team can get there. I don't think it's really that much different than we've seen from in the past. They just needed some time to get it together.
Yeah, definitely be a turning point for that offense. Pierce, what do you want to talk about?
I love the Jeff Saturday win. You got players and coaches around the league.
Yeah.
They're all upset. I can't believe this guy got a job. Well, guess what? Meritocracy's dead. These clowns think that that's how you get jobs and you work your way up in life. It's all about who you know. And, you see Bill Cowher in the pregame show crying about how he worked so hard as a player and coach his whole life, and then just see a guy walk in and get a job. Yeah, well, maybe coaches don't really matter that much. Maybe sometimes coaches just need to get out of the way and stop acting like they control everything and just let the players play the game. Because last time I checked, it's the players that actually throw the ball around and score the touchdowns, and it's not the old crusty old coach. The good news is, though, based on Saturday being able to get a head coaching job in the NFL, I think we probably qualify for like a D3 job, maybe NAIA head coach position. So I'm going to start sending out some CVs and resumes.
Emerson's got a coaching minor.
I was a coaching minor. Yep. George O'Leary taught me quite a bit about the sport of football. There's no doubt about it. It also wouldn't shock me now if the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels and then just hired the entire ESPN Sunday NFL Countdown crew to be their head coach after what we saw with Jeff Saturday. Week 10 is going to wrap up tonight here, guys. Commanders visiting the Eagles. Who is your captain pick tonight, Pierce?
Devonta Smith. I'm still going to get Hurts. I'm still going to get A.J. Brown. But if you put Smith in your captain spot, you then can fit all three of them into your lineups. Yeah, go cheap, which we'll get to one of those picks here in a second. Washington, not a good pass defense. They ranked dead last against wide receiver number 2. And you go back to the last time Washington and Philadelphia faced off. That was Smith's biggest game of the year. He almost caught for 200 yards.
All right, Geoff, I can't remember who you had yesterday. Oh, wait, you went with Taylor Heineke, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that call, too. I mean, I actually really like the Devonta Smith call. I mean, I think it's a good game for him to pop up. The Eagles have been distributing the ball. But when you look at this game, and we don't really have a main carry running back. I mean, Miles Sanders doesn't really get involved in the pass game, so that kind of stinks for showdown purposes. We want upside. We got two players in Jalen Hurts and Taylor Heineke going to run the ball a bit. Hurts' rushing numbers down a bit, but Heineke's actually averaged about 20 yards rushing. I think the rushes could go up here against the Eagles' offensive line, just the fact that they cover the wide receiver so well. And Heineke is cheap, man. I mean, again, like he's only 13.5. He's going to let you fit in a lot of players. You can stack them quite easily with some cheap receivers. So like the way he's played, I would not be shocked that if the difference between Hurts and Heineke wasn't that big in this game. I think that we're kind of limited in captain spot. You can certainly go to the wide receiver position, like I said, but those are always more variable. Heineke gives us a good floor and a pretty solid upside here.
All right, Pierce, how low on the salary board are you going here for your value play in this showdown tonight?
I'm going to the bottom. I'm going to go John Bates. And look, I don't like the value anywhere. I hate all these value plays. Washington now has 3 wide receivers that are healthy. They're going to divide up the workload. Philly's pretty concentrated with their volume going mainly to the expensive options. So the value is just not fun at all. So I'm looking at more of just a cost-cutting perspective. Wow. And I expect Washington to play from behind and passing. And so I'm hoping to get some John Bates garbage time. You can also go to Logan Thomas as well. They split the snaps at tight end. But when you take one of these super cheap guys like Thomas or Bates, I can get all the Philly guys. I can even fit Tyler Heineke into that lineup as well.
All right, Geoff, value play.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, again, do not mind the tight end call. I mean, I think there's a good chance that, Heineke probably throws at least one touchdown pass here, and it potentially just comes to like a Logan Thomas. So Logan Thomas at 2,600. I'm going to go Jahan Dotson, though, for my value call. Again, if I'm captaining Taylor Heineke, I mean, I want to pair him with some kind of upside play. Dotson at 5K, too cheap. He's going to be back on the field here, practiced all week. And I think just for showdown purposes, people are just going to look at that and say, again, we're going to get lower ownership on Heineke and the captain. And I think most people will be looking just to grab like a McLaurin or a Curtis Samuel, not wanting to trust the rookie coming back from injury, new quarterback. But Dotson at 5K, we've seen the kind of upside he has. He really does kind of have that game-breaking speed, ability to get open. And, there could be garbage time here. So 5K, I'd be in on him.
All right, quickly with your favorite Monday Night Football bet, Geoff. You sticking with Jalen Hurts over 1.5 touchdown passes?
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, the line has moved to -110, so I don't necessarily really like it as much. I still do like Jalen Hurts here, though. So instead, I mean, I think I would probably look to take over on his pass completions. So a little bit safer play, 19.5 over 19.5 pass completions, minus 115. Hurts has just been so efficient, and he's going up against a Washington team who, we already talked about what they do against the wide receiver position, but, all the targets here healthy for Jalen Hurts. He's been really efficient. He's been running the ball just slightly less over his last 3 games. I think you take the over on a couple Jalen Hurts passing props in this game. I like the over on the completions, 19.5. Still like the over 1.5 passing touchdown. Just like I said, the value just isn't what it was yesterday when it was plus 105.
All right, Pierce.
Heineke minus 210 to throw an interception. This pick comes in every week. It works every week. It's not going to make you rich, but this one's pretty obvious. Philly leads the league in picks per game. They're averaging 2 interceptions per game over the last 3 games. Heineke 3 interceptions in his 3 games this year, through 15 interceptions last season. This one's a lock.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. Pierce, you're free to go. Geoff, we'll talk some golf with you coming up. We'll help you build some money-making lineups around the NBA coming up after this break.
We have Howard at the Printer, known as one of the weakest defenders in the office. The nasty nutmeg by Dempsey. He trips, he scores on the breakaway. Dempsey drills it. Dempsey drills it.
Yeah, we're going to have Clint Dempsey in studio. Rest of the week talking U.S. men's national team, talking about the World Cup, talk about what to expect from the Stars and Stripes with this very inexperienced squad. Should Brazil be the favorite? All the heavy hitters worth backing on the DK Sportsbook? I don't know. So many incredible questions that I asked Clint, and he answered them. Also, beautiful nutmeg there on Howie, who is holding the camera as we speak. Don't wink at me, Howie. Geoff Pratt. Interesting that you're here. It's great to have you here. I would love to build some NBA lineups with you.
Thank you. Are you sure you don't want to talk soccer? I mean, you could have a former U.S.
You know what I want to talk about? You know what I want to talk about? This weekend. You said you drove by me walking my dogs. You're in an Uber. Guy doesn't roll the window down and say hello. Guy doesn't tell the Uber to stop so he can get out and say hello to me. Straight up ignores my dogs, who are local legends in our neighborhood. This dude just zipped on by, didn't text me, went to Twitter, DM'd me.
I didn't have your number.
You knew how to. You have my number. You've always had my number.
Oh, my God. He asked for my number.
Would you like to apologize to my dogs right now? They're watching.
I would love to apologize to your dogs. I am so excited to meet you. Your owner is a bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm very excited to meet you guys.
All right. I'm excited for you to help us build these money-making lineups for NBA tonight. So what do we have? A 7-game slate. Let's do some building blocks. Who would you build your lineup around if you were looking at the center position?
So the first things first, I won't be rolling with Giannis today. I'm just not sure what he's giving you is worth the price tag, which is 1.6K higher than the next most expensive guy on tonight's slate. That being said, if you do want to roster Giannis tonight, opt for him at center so you can have more flexibility at forward. Now the center I will be choosing as my building block today is Wendell Carter Jr. So you can have, Wendell Carter Jr., he's quietly emerged as one of the premier centers in the league. No one really watches the Magic. Orlando is playing ugly basketball this year, but Carter Jr. is flying under the radar. This guy's averaging 16, 10, and 3. He shoots the 3 ball at a decent clip. He's coming off a big game in which he scored 43 fantasy points. He saw a usage rate of 28%. Tonight he's playing Charlotte, and the Hornets ranked dead last in fantasy points allowed to center. So this is a great spot for him.
Bam Adebayo just ate them up for like 2 straight games there. And yeah, you're right. So they give up an NBA high 64.2 DK fantasy points per game to the center position. Absolutely nailed it. All right, so building block then at forward. Who would that be for you?
This is one spot where I would recommend paying all the way up. Emerson, you knew this was coming. I'm picking Jason Tatum, who is the MVP right now, and I will not hear otherwise.
Oh, I agree with you.
Wonderful. So we're finally on the same page here.
Finally.
Tatum has finally taken that leap into the elite top 5 tier. He was leading the league in total points before Kevin Durant passed him last night. The rebounding is still really strong. His playmaking continues to just be excellent. He went crazy in his last game, scoring 67.5 fantasy points while just picking the Pistons apart. But I'm more interested in the usage rate. It's been consistently high as of late, surpassing 32% in 5 of his last 6 and hitting 37% in 2 of those games. Now, the Thunder do actually rank 6th in fantasy points allowed to wings, but I'm not really concerned, especially after they just gave up 135 points to the Knicks yesterday. Tatum should pick up right where he left off on Saturday.
Dude, how giddy are you about the Celtics and their 10-3 start,
my
man?
goodness.
I bet you can't even sleep at night. You probably got Tatum's poster on your bedroom ceiling.
I actually don't think I have Tatum, but I got plenty of stuff in there.
Yeah, I know. I know you do. Who are you going to build around at guard?
At guard, let's say you don't want to pay up for Giannis or Jason Tatum.
Okay.
If that's the case, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has to be that guy. I talked about one Celtics player in this matchup. Now I'm going to a Thunder player. I'm not really sure why SGA is priced below $9K tonight.
Yeah, $8,900.
Exactly. He scored 53-plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4. He absolutely torched the Knicks yesterday. He draws the Celtics tonight, and while some may assume that's a tough matchup, Boston just hasn't been the defensive juggernaut they were last year. You see it in spurts with this team, but they're not putting it together consistently yet, and that's understandable with Robert Williams out. So, Shai is only the 6th most expensive guard on tonight's slate, despite outperforming most of the guys ahead of him on that list. And the matchup is actually pretty favorable. I would definitely take advantage of what I consider to be a discount on him tonight.
Yeah, man. Dude, he's absolutely been producing, dude. So he scored at least 30 points 6 times in the past 8 games.
He's a monster.
All right, dude.
He's a monster.
All right. I like it. Value play. I don't know who's going to be out there watching right now and be like, I'm going to build my lineups around a value play. But, hey, you know what? To each their own. Who do you recommend?
I think you can get a starting center who's a value play right now. I'm going with Kevon Looney, who has really found his rhythm as of late, and a lot of that can be attributed to his expanded role. For a variety of reasons, James Wiseman is just out of the rotation in Golden State right now. But Looney obviously knows exactly what Steve Kerr wants. You know, he's been playing under him for years. He knows how to run the system. So with Wiseman out of the rotation, Kevon has taken advantage of those expanded minutes. He's scored 25-plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. And the most amazing part is he's doing it while barely touching the basketball. His usage rate has been less than 10% in 5 of his last 7, but he still manages to produce. Tonight, Golden State faces the Spurs. They rank 24th in fantasy points allowed to centers. So this is a great spot for him to stay hot tonight.
All right. We'll get you out of here with this. What's your favorite bet on the DK Sportsbook for tonight's slate around the NBA?
It's hard not to go back to the Celtics here. And it is a large spread tonight, but they're playing such great basketball. You can't get annoyed at me. You can't get annoyed at me right now.
I'm not being annoyed with you. I'm not annoyed with you.
Exactly.
If it's a good bet, it's a good bet. So continue.
Exactly. Boston's won 6 straight. They're getting a well-rested Jaylen Brown and Al Horford back for this game. OKC, on the other hand, they're on the second night of a back-to-back. They just gave up a ton of points to a pretty bad Knicks team. Now, the spread, as I mentioned, is pretty large.
Oh, my God, it's 12 points right now.
Last time I checked, it's 12 points.
That's tough. In the NBA, those spreads, man.
It is tough, so I would check out some alternate lines, see if you can shrink that spread a little bit. That being said, the Celtics are still perfectly capable of covering. In fact, they've covered 12 points 3 times in their last 5 games, and they would have done it against Detroit if Jaylen Brown and Al Horford weren't out. So the Celtics should stay hot in front of their home crowd. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to get his points, but they should pick up their 7th straight win.
Okay. Wait, Thunder have averaged almost 116 points per game. That ranks 9th in the NBA.
They're playing well.
Yeah, they are playing well. But like you said, could have some tired legs tonight. My dog's legs are going to be tired later after I walk them, and I hope if you see us, you say hello this time.
Where are you going to be walking?
I'll be walking around the neighborhood.
I don't know where you live.
I'll text you.
Okay.
All right, we got to move on. Samir, the producer, is very upset right now. We're gonna do what we just did in the NBA for NHL. It's a 3-game slate. Let's talk about bets, best DFS plays right after this. All right, 3 games on the NHL slate tonight. We got Paul Bruno in the house. We're going to rip through all 3 of these games here, Paul, and I want you to hook us up with a DFS play and a bet from each contest. So we're going to start with Hurricanes and the Blackhawks here. Who is your top DFS play in this game?
Well, I feel real good about taking my starting goalie from this matchup, Emerson. The Canes are clearly the better team, and so I'm banking on the high win probability for whoever of their 2 goalies starts. It's not known right now, but the price tags are as follows. Ranta for $8,300, Kochetkov for $8,100, and Anderson for $6,500. Anderson's definitely not going to play. He's on the IR. So go ahead and take a chance on him if you want to blow the money away. But it's one of the other 2 guys for sure. Check back with RotoWire's starting goalie grid later today. I'll also take one of my centers from this matchup after seeing the $6,800 price tag on their top center, Sebastian Aho. That's a very low total for their top line center, who has 7 goals, 17 points over 15 games played, and I really like his matchup at home against a weak Chicago team.
Okay, what's the bet in this one? I mean, Hurricanes are clearly the better team, but Carolina has been struggling lately, Paul.
They have been, but I know and I know their starting goalie's a little nicked up, like I said, but this game should likely afford them the chance to go with their backup anyway. I think they have a big-time talent advantage, and so I have no trouble saying that the Carolina club will continue their mastery on home ice. They are very tough out on home ice for sure, and they have been for years, and I'll take them on the puck line at +100.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Get some plus money there. I like it. Let's go to Kings Flames. So you look at this, everyone who's going to be hitting the ice tonight, and you say, my favorite DFS play is?
look at the Flames power play is loaded with talent, but it's underachieved so far. That means the price tags are a little bit lower than they might otherwise be, and they have a great chance to reverse their fortunes tonight against a club that doesn't do very well in the shorthanded situations. First, I plug in Elias Lindholm for $5,300. This is a first-line center who scored 40 goals and 82 points last year. He has 10 points and 30 shots on goal in 14 tilts so far this season. I find this is a price that's very low, and I like his matchup and profile here. Also like the power play quarterback for Calgary. That's Rasmus Anderson, locked in that role again this year. 12 points in 14 games played, 6 of them coming on the power play. His price tag at $5,700 is an affordable one considering the profile and matchup against one of the weakest power play penalty kill units in the entire league.
All right, so take us to the DK Sportsbook here for a bet for Kings Flames. So you got LA looking to build on this 4-game win streak right now, right? Calgary, my God, they need a win after losing 7 of their last 8 games.
Yeah, but they've won a couple in the last week, so I think they're starting to right that ship. At the beginning of the season, I thought that these two would be 1-2 in the division, but Las Vegas has kind of messed that up. I still think they're going to be 2 of the top 3 teams by the end of the day, and I'm also confident that Calgary gets things right on home ice tonight. They have come out of a funk that was a 6-game loser, and I think they're looking a little bit more confident. I know it's a key game in the division, and I think they're going to come out flying at home. Take Calgary on the puck line at plus 165.
All right, boatload of talent here to choose from with Blues Avalanche. So what do you want to do on the DFS side of things?
Well, I need to fill in on the wings, and I look at Arturi Lehkonen taking advantage of the promotion to the top line for the Avs right from the beginning of the season because of Gabriel Landeskog's injury situation. He's collected 9 points in 13 games with almost 21 minutes a night. That's amazing value for $5,200, and so he's a great plug-in. And it helps me consider his opposite winger, Mikko Rantanen, at $8,200, one of the most expensive wingers on the slate. But you average the cost, and you feel better about it, right? Getting exposure to 2/3 of their top forward line in this matchup, I think that they have a skating advantage over the opposition tonight. I think they're going to flaunt it.
All right, so let's go to the last one here. We got the Blues and Avalanche. St. Louis, just ended the Golden Knights' 9-game win streak, and now they're going to try to end Colorado's 4-game win streak here. So start on the DFS side. Who's your guy?
Well, I think that the Blues have righted their ship with a pair of wins over the last little while. They had an 8-game losing streak where they looked terrible. They look slow still, and I think the speed of the Avs is going to be the trump card tonight. So I think this is another situation where the puck line bet makes sense for the home side at plus 125.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, it's exactly what I meant when I asked you the DFS side for the second time. I meant to give me your bet, and you did just that. Thank you for not listening to me, Paul, because I am an absolute idiot at times. Good having you, dude. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. We have our golf gurus standing by on the other side of this break. Can Tony Finau go back-to-back? We discuss after this quick break. Look at this thing. Tony Finau has just been on an absolute tear as of late. So he just won the Cadence Bank Houston Open yesterday. Was blowing away the field, up 8 strokes at one point, ended up winning by 4. He's claimed 4 PGA Tour titles in his last 30 starts. In fact, I think he just won in Houston for his third win in his last 7 starts, if I'm not mistaken here. I mean, he's still going this week. He's got the best odds this week at the RSM Classic. Let's go. Geoff Ulrich, Colin Sherwin. Let's do some pin placement here. Let's figure out where all these dudes are going to be finishing this week. So Tony Finau, is he going to go back-to-back, Geoff? His finishing place, will it be at the top of the leaderboard come Sunday?
No, he's not going to go back-to-back. This is just a completely different venue that's in play. Finau's strengths were at the peak of his of existence last week. He dominated off the tee on a longer course in Houston where people were struggling, and then he just went lights out with the putter, gained over 7 strokes there. It's just the perfect formula for that course, which has typically favored big hitters. Kokrak won there last year. Exact same formula Finau used. I want to keep talking about Tony Finau, though, because I do think that you need to be looking to bet him. It's just not at this event this week. You need to bet him at the majors. Plus 2,500 still at the Masters. Looking at the PGA odds here, plus 3,500. What do we need from this guy to get fine? I'm gonna bet him over Xander Schauffele. Finau's won. What has he won? 6 times, a bunch of times now. This is a dude you need to jump on for the futures at the majors. Like right now, like before Christmas. Once people start thinking about golf more into January, these odds won't be there. I don't care about him this week. Let's say T16, but he's not gonna win. He's overpriced. But the majors, man. He's winning a major next year. You can stamp that down. You can replay this when it happens.
Believe it or not, people are going to be thinking a lot about golf in the month of December too, Geoff. As you and I have discussed multiple times, because Tiger Woods is playing like 3 different times in the month of December. Colin, how we feel about Tony Finau this week, man? Give me a finishing placement for him.
I think he looks at like top 30, but I don't think he's going to win the thing. And by the way, one of those Tiger events, 20 minutes from my house. I'll see you there, Emerson. Fly down, buddy. Come on, we'll have a good time.
Okay, I would love that.
But yeah, I think this course just doesn't set up as well for Finau's game. The thing that's really changed with him that's blown me away though is his putting has just been absolutely lights out as of late. I don't know what he's done. I don't know how he's changed it, but him picking up strokes with his putter is just going to make it so much more difficult for the field because he hits the mile. And his wedge game has always been one of the best in the world. This guy's an amazing ball striker. If he starts rolling the ball in, he's going to win major next year. And I think Augusta sets up better for him than probably any other course of the 4. So that 25-1, I bet you that is 12-1 or less when it goes off in April.
All right, so then Taylor Gooch, he's the defending champ. I believe this is where he won his first PGA Tour victory last year. He's not in the field, though, but Mackenzie Hughes, who finished second here last year, he is. Where does he finish this time around, Geoff?
Yeah, I mean, Mackenzie Hughes is, he sets up really well for this course. The high-end putter can really get the approach game going. So, again, this is just not a venue where you're going to be disadvantaged off the tee. I mean, length just isn't a big issue here. You've just got to keep it in the fairways. So, I think Mackenzie Hughes is a player who he really likes this venue. I mean, he won his first event here. He's obviously coming in with confidence off the fall. I don't have a problem projecting him for a top 10. I think Mackenzie Hughes is the type of player where if he missed the cut, I wouldn't be that shocked either. He's just that kind of streaky player, but this is where he's going to pop up. He's going to pop up at the RSM Classic on a short venue like the Sea Island venues here that we have. Both, we got a par 72 that's 77,000 yards, a par 70 that's 7,000 yards. It's just Mackenzie Hughes territory. So I'm going to put him in for a top 10 because, again, he loves this venue. So just from a course history perspective, but then just the confidence is coming in with from the fall win. Yeah, I think he'll probably pop up here again this week. What
do you think, Colin? Do you agree?
I like him more top 20 than top 10. Plus 450 is a great price, I think, for a guy who can really go low. And by the way, this is a player, in his last 4 events, T16, T23, a win, and T25. So, he could definitely get it done here. But I think this, again, I'm with Geoff. I don't think this, is the perfect setup for him, but I think it's one he can do well. This is a tougher field, though, than the one that he certainly beat at the Sanderson's Farm Championship. There's just better players in front of him, which makes this a bit more of a challenge. But again, for Geoff and my fellow Canadian, I do think there's some value on the board this week for sure.
Okay. Could that value be maybe Tyson Alexander, who just finished second in Houston, Colin?
Not really sure yet. Don't have a ton of data on this guy, but congratulations to him. I mean, that's a huge, basically if you lock up a second place you can almost assure yourself that you're going to be in the top 125 at the end of the season. So you've sort of like locked up your tour card already, which is good for him. This is a completely different setup this week. Sea Island, when you're not being like blown away by the views, like this place is gorgeous, by the way. If you've ever been there, it's just watch this course during the week. Like watch these those little drone shots. You're going to love this place. But I don't know if he's necessarily a ton of value at this point. You see where he is on that board.
Dude.
You got a little different setup this week than you did last week. I don't see him going back to back, but maybe as a top 20 as a flyer, I mean, that's a really good price.
I mean, hot damn, Geoff, plus 25,000. Get after it.
Yeah, no thanks. Look, Tyson Alexander's a great story. This dude is 34. He's been grinding the Corn Ferry. He got a win on the Corn Ferry last year, got his card, and now, like Colin said, the second place from last week, where he gained 8 strokes ball striking. It's basically locked up his card for next year. It's a great story, it really is. But you look at what he had done before. I mean, 2 missed cuts, a 64th at the Shriners, a 44th at Bermuda against like basically a minor league field. I mean, this guy wasn't lighting it up. He popped up for a week. It's not someone that I need to go back to. I think if you're looking in that range for a bet, I think Henrik Norlander actually stands out as the player who's ton of course history and good course history at Sea Island. He's up and down, but like a lot of these players in this field, he's up and down. He's got a solid approach game, and if this putter gets going, though, he can take advantage of something like this, of this course, I should say. So Norlander's a player I kind of have my eye on potentially as like a plus 20,000 bet, but I'm going to stay off Tyson Alexander. It's a great week for him last week, but let's not get too crazy.
All right, Geoff, let's go to your boy.
Yes.
Joel, don't call me Damon Damon.
Oh, yes.
All right?
Damon.
Yeah.
Damon.
What, he tied for 9th last week, was T3 at Mayakoba before that. Looks like a great layout for him as well.
It's pretty solid. Really, Damon's biggest issue is just that, sometimes around the green and with the putter, it just fails him. His approach game, when it gets going, he is super, super consistent. And since about the second or third event of the fall, he has been gaining multiple strokes on approach. So you put him on a short course like this where, he's not going to get too crazy or wild off the tee. He's going to set himself up for these approaches. It's just, can he take that next step up with the rest of his game? It's really hit or miss. His only win on the PGA Tour did come in Punta Cana, which is another seaside venue. It's actually a very good comparable to this week. Shorter course, right by the sea. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty bullish on him this week. He's been playing really solid golf. And what did we see from Taylor Gooch last year before he won? He put in a bunch of work. He put in like top 10s, 5ths, top 15s. That's exactly what Damon's been doing. I'm not going to call him for the win, but I am going to call him for a really good week. Let's go top 5 here. I think he shows up. He's a player at plus 4,000. I really don't mind betting either.
Yeah, where is he? Plus 4,000. So you said
Plus
top
4,000.
10.
I just said it.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I was looking at as much. You said you like him for top 10.
I apologize. I bring back all that negativity.
It's okay. It's all right. So he's plus 350 for a top 10. Okay. I like that. Now, he has only mustered one top 30 in his past 5 trips here, Colin.
Yeah, this is it's a rough setup for him. This is not going to be ideal. This is a guy who hasn't gained strokes putting in an event in a very long time. And I think rolling the rock this week is probably going to be the key. So, at 40, though, anybody can get hot for a week. I mean, I wouldn't hate it at 40. Yeah, there's certainly worse bets out there on the board. But I think this is just a course setup. He's going to have a good season this year. But this is just not the right week to bet him. I think you're going to be able to find some better value on Damon later this season, but not at Sea Island. Just not the right setup.
All right, let's go with another JD. We'll wrap up the segment here with Jason Day. I have a feeling that you two will have complete opposite opinions about this guy. Colin, you can't believe that he has the 4th best odds here, can you? Plus 2,200 to win this thing.
I mean, just get hot, right? And everybody just starts to ride you. I mean, I'm not sold. I see the results. T8, T11, T21, T16. That's really solid. This guy's won a major. I mean, he's got the game, but I just don't. I think this field is tougher than the ones he's competed against so far, although the CJ Cup had a pretty decent field in it as well. But I'm not there yet with Jason Day. I need to see it a little bit more. I do think he has the game. But again, he's not a guy who putts it so spectacularly that you can fade this price. I just don't think this course setup works really, really well for him. He's somebody, on a longer course, where approach matters as well. I think he'll be better. But just this week, I mean, it's not a putting contest this week necessarily, but it's not exactly a Bombers course either. So I just don't think this is the right price, and I'm rooting for Jason Day. I just don't think this is the right price to go with him.
I mean, Geoff Ulrich, could we be talking about a resurgence here?
Oh, I mean, look. The big thing with Jason Day is he wasn't able to complete his swing without injuring himself before. He's obviously figured that out. He's playing his 5th, 6th event here, and he's gaining strokes across the board with the ball striking. So, I mean, that is extremely encouraging. But this is a bit of a putting contest, and one thing about his game that hasn't come back is the putter in the short game. So, you may be asking that. Like, I think Colin is probably right in saying this may not be the best venue for him. It's pretty gross at plus 2,200. At the same time, like, this field, it thins out pretty quick after Finau, man. I mean, you've got Brian Harman with shorter odds than him. So, a relative speaking, I guess I don't hate the odds. I would probably rather go down to Patrick Rodgers, who I think actually has some similarities, and he's just a more elite putter. Like, if Patrick Rodgers comes in and gains 8 strokes putting here, we're not going to be shocked. And he's plus 4,500. So there is better value with players I'd rather take a shot with. If you came and just said, I'm riding the Jason Day train, I've been betting him all fall, like me, and I got to bet him here, that's fine too. But he's definitely not the best value on the board. I'd rather go down. We already talked about Damon. I do like Patrick Rodgers at plus 4,500. That's probably my favorite kind of mid-range play.
All right, you two. We're done. That's a show. Everybody, thanks for watching. We're back here in studio tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We will see you then. Yay!
We did it.
Good job.